NBA media, they're doing that thing again.
He spoke pretty candidly about all their situation, and he spoke to Bleacher Report. And look at this quote.
Look at our starting lineup. Edmund Sumner, Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, Claxton, and me. Not disrespect, but what are you expecting from that group?
I thought everything Kevin said was pathetic. The shot he took at their starting lineup at Sacramento was completely unnecessary.
You expect us to win because I am out there.
So if you're watching from that lens, you're expecting us to play well because number 7 is out there.
This to me is another message by saying, hey, look, this is not working out.
If I'm Joe Lacob, if I'm Bob Myers, I would strongly consider what we were hearing prior to the season beginning. KD back in Golden State.
First thing I gotta say before I start this video is, I'm sorry, man. I fell for it too. I thought KD said some crazy stuff. I thought KD was trying to send a message. I thought the Brooklyn Nets, there was disarray because KD now is calling out his teammates. It was chaos. It was absolute chaos. But in fact, we got the story wrong.
Me and my brother Mark Spears at Anscape, we approached KD before the game started as he was going to do his pre-game work. And we told him, like, we want to, can we get some time with him? And, he hasn't seen us in a while. He was like, no problem, brothers. I got y'all after the game.
I think what caught us all in this world was that he was so honest. He was so open about everything. He said the things that a lot of us wanted him to say, the people crafting the narratives. And it just got us in the trap.
That's extreme candor. It's the kind of candor I've been doing this a long time. You don't hear in season a star player be that frank.
So what I'm going to do today is a bit different from my usual videos. I'm going to dissect the article and analyze it to see how wrong we were.
It was a big loss. He was mad. And then he used us to vent.
So first off, they talked about the past trade requests he did, and KD said it wasn't difficult at all to request a trade because it was all about ball. And one thing this interview did a good job at is clarifying KD's perspective on this. He said, I went to them, the coaching staff, and was like, yo, I don't like how we are preparing. I don't like shoot-arounds. I like practices. I need more. I want to work on more stuff. Hold me accountable. This goes against the narratives we had of KD quitting on his team when we requested that trade. No, in fact, he wanted his team to practice harder. He wanted his team to work more. He told the coaches, get on my ass and film if that's going to help you get on everybody else's head. I want to do more closeouts. I want to work more shell drills at practice. I can't lie to you, but that does not sound like a quitter to me. I gotta say, this is an interesting quote right there. And I think we're not surprised to see that the media didn't talk much about this part.
To suddenly come out of nowhere, a bolt out of the blue, and what are we in the middle of November, and suddenly say, well, this is why I asked for a trade, because he says it wasn't difficult at all to request a trade because it was about ball, okay? It was about ball. It was about Steve Nash because he's just pointing the finger at that guy saying, he just didn't want to push us hard enough, right?
What many people seem to think is Kevin Durant escaping accountability and just pointing the fingers at others is actually, in fact, Kevin Durant himself wanting to hold the coaching staff accountable for not pushing them hard enough. That's what he was saying. The point was he was trying to clarify why he requested the trade in the first place, and that was his reasoning. Right? That's all he said.
He wasn't dedicated enough to the process of making us a better basketball team because I don't want to just shoot around. I want to practice. So I went to them and I wasn't complaining about anybody else. I just said, I want to practice harder. Okay.
But it's kind of hard to make what you got 12, 13 guys and one guy you want to practice hard without making the other guys practice hard, Skip.
Okay.
That's not at all what he said. That's not at all what the story said. Kevin Durant himself said the team, I wasn't feeling that from the team. Nobody was on the same vibe with me. Jack Vaughn is. I had some complaints in the summer, and my complaints were not about just me. It was about how we are moving as a unit. I want us to be respected out there in the basketball world. Don't know, Shannon. You cannot come here and tell us that Kevin Durant was being selfish when he himself said he wanted the team to be pushed harder. He wanted these guys to play harder. And when he saw that, they were on the same page, he requested out. And he goes on to say, I don't want players to look at us and say, oh man, these MFs are full of stuff. That's not the type of team I want to be on. So when we're all playing like poop, the one person they're going to look at. That's why I requested a trade.
I believe that Kevin Durant's words are justified, but I also believe that a lot of it is self-inflicting He is culpable for it, and that's the part that he left out that he should not have. He's a part of this mess. He's partly responsible for assembling this mess.
This is also true. Kevin Durant is also part of the problem in Brooklyn. He also contributed to pushing for the trade for James Harden, which depleted their depth. And I'm sure the Nets, if they were to revisit that trade, they'd rather keep Caris LeVert and Jared Allen on their team. Oh boy.
He made the wrong decision by electing to join forces with Kyrie to come to Brooklyn. If you want to come to Brooklyn, fine. But to join forces with Kyrie, who marches to his own beat, that's the kind of stuff that KD indirectly is responsible for, because you got to know your personnel.
But that's not fair to say. You can't put that on KD. He was joining a Kyrie Irving at the time that was not embroiled in any of the drama that we're seeing today. He was not embroiled in the COVID stuff. He was not embroiled in the conspiracy stuff. He was not flat earth, okay, but Kyrie Irving was not even close to being the controversial player he is today, right? The only fan base that hated him was the Celtics. And that, look, I get it, but you cannot put that on KD.
I could be wrong about this, but I don't believe anybody in sports media has defended Kevin Durant more than I have.
You're absolutely correct.
I thought everything Kevin said was pathetic. I thought his comments about why he demanded a trade were pathetic.
Now, I don't think what KD said in terms of giving his perspective is pathetic. What I think was wrong about him requesting for a trade was that he did it with 4 more years left in his contract, right? That's unprecedented. A star at his level doing something like that? Yeah, that's not good.
I thought the shot he took at their starting lineup at Sacramento was completely unnecessary and ultimately pathetic.
It's funny how context just gets thrown out of the window, right? Context as in, when did KD say this? He said this after losing to the Sacramento Kings by 32 points with a starting lineup that missed a lot of players, key players that the Nets obviously would look much better having. Okay, Kevin Durant did not necessarily take shots at them. He was basically pointing out how the roster was missing guys and how the lineup that he was playing in that day was not gonna cut it, right, in terms of winning games, right? The only person you can look at to win you games is Kevin Durant, because he's the star. He's the player that carries this team. When he said that statement, he didn't say it in reference to what he thought. He said it in reference to how the media, how the fans perceive this Nets team and the roster that was put out there against the Kings, right? That's how we look at it, especially that last part here when he says, you expect us to win because I'm out there. So if you're watching from that lens, you're expecting us to play well because number 7 is out there. Who is the you in that case? That's us, the media, the fans, people watching the games. He's not talking from his standpoint. He's talking from our standpoint the whole time. But people took it as him saying this directly, calling out his teammates, when in fact, he was merely pointing at the fact that that's how people like us perceive the Nets roster at the moment. And I cannot lie to you, I fell for this too. If you see my Twitter account, if you've seen the tweets I put out, I was basically saying the same stuff. I was saying Kevin Durant is being selfish. Kevin Durant once again is sabotaging the season. I was about to make a video bashing him for the things he said, even though it wasn't him saying it from his point. I was about to be duped. I was about to have egg on my face on YouTube after already having egg on my face on Twitter. And now we got to talk about the leadership stuff. The leadership stuff. Oh boy.
I'm not a leader? What the F does that mean? A lot of people say I'm not a leader because I didn't tell Kyrie to get vaccinated. Come on. Or I didn't condemn Kyrie for leaving the team, going out and living his life. I'm not about to tell a grown-ass man what he can and can't do with his own life and dissect his views or how he thinks about SH. I don't need to show or tell everybody what I'm doing with my teammates so y'all can pump me up and say, yeah, KD, you're the boss, you're the leader. These other you-know-whats need that. I don't. I don't come to you and say, Haynes, write this story about me. I don't do that to nobody. But I come here and respect y'all. I talk to y'all like a real one, even after a blowout loss. Okay, I'm not even sure where that's heading in about leadership. he's not saying he is a leader, really. He's just saying, I don't need to act like a leader to be a leader. I don't need to try to tell you I'm a leader.
Kevin Durant, this is where he puts himself in a very sticky situation, right? You remember back in 2017 when he had that press conference, he said basically that he wasn't a leader and that Steph Curry was the face of the franchise.
Steph Curry is the face of the franchise, and that helps me out because I don't have to be. I don't want to have to be a leader. I'm not a leader. I'm not bad. I'm bad at saying, stand behind me, follow me. Not one of those guys is just like that. Skip, he's telling you he doesn't want to be a leader, but then he's a walking contradiction.
In 2017, when he said those things, I mean, it confirmed what a lot of people already believed of him, not being the leader, not being the guy. And so for Kevin Durant to turn around and respond to the criticisms in 2022 the way he did, it's a bit of a contradiction, as Sharpe said, right? You were the one that told us you're not a leader, but then in the same quote, he then goes to say this.
Maybe I'm reading too much.
These other MFs, yeah, that's what they need. I don't need that. Yeah.
Skip, he says, I don't mind being at the front of the lines with you, but let's come and do it together. That's my way of leadership. I'm leading by example. Do you want to be a leader or do you not?
That is an important question because it doesn't seem like KD knows whether or not he wants to be a leader, right? He asserts his leadership in one end with Steve Nash and them when he says, we got to push our team harder. We need more practices. But with Kyrie, oh no, he's his own man.
I don't want to tell a grown-ass man what to do when you damn sure trying to tell Steve Kerr how to run practice. If Steve Kerr not a grown man, Steve Nash, excuse me. If Steve Nash not a grown man, you had no problem trying to tell him. Fact. But you didn't want to tell Kyrie.
And where KD loses me and a lot of other people is when he says stuff like this, when he contradicts himself constantly. He carries himself as though he cares little of the criticism levied at him, but then responds to every single one of them on Twitter, and along the way fails to understand why he's even being scrutinized the way he is at the moment.
KD has to understand, Skip. If everybody was like KD, KD wouldn't be special. There's a certain level of expectations that comes along with greatness. We expect you to do things that normal NBA players can't do. That's why you're Kevin Durant.
And Kevin, you don't get to decide how others perceive you. You don't get to define your legacy.
KD needs to admit, damn, I made a mistake departing from Golden State for this.